Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is me, your host, Niko House, and you are now listening to Mi Casa es Su Casa on American Freedom Radio. You can catch us here every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I hope to see you here. It has been, as usual, a crazy week in politics, but before we get started, of course, I want to urge you all to make sure that you go to visit American Freedom Radio. There are a lot of other great hosts on their website. You can also follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as well. Also, if you are on YouTube, or even if you're not, you should just create a page and help us get to 10,000 subscribers. Yep, we are on the road to 10,000. I would love to help you, for you to help us reach that, just because, well, how else are we going to get seen by more people unless you all subscribe? And I promise you it's worth it. Anybody who's listening right now can tell you this is the real deal. This is the nitty gritty. This is what it ain't always what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. And that's important enough for me. And I think that that's why we've been able to grow such a huge presence in such a short amount of time, because you don't always need to hear what you want to hear. So that's my job. I'm like pulling the Band-Aid off quick. You needed the Band-Aid on, but you had to rip it off fast so you can go ahead and get it over with and start healing. That's what we do around here. And also, of course, I want to urge you all to join our One Follow $1 campaign, where we show the mainstream media that if you will not invest in the truth, then we will invest in those who will. So, as usual, Facebook, shout out to you guys and all my firsters who have been here with me from the very beginning. YouTube, always love having you all. Twitter, we don't get to see y'all as often, but I love seeing you when I do, and I'm glad to have you back on this evening. And those who are listening on American Freedom Radio, you all are very, very much so appreciate. Love doing the show every Thursday, and I'm glad to be back. It was a long holiday season, and I would have been back last week. However, I got pneumonia, so yeah, that was out of the question. In fact, I actually still have my same cough from last week because, well, you don't just get over pneumonia that quickly. So, but obviously a lot better now. I feel good. We're doing big things on the channel. As you can see, if this is the first time that you're watching in a while, that we've got a little bit of a different setup. We've made some improvements, and we're only improving more with your help. And so I want to thank you all for that. So let's everybody share the video, subscribe to the channels, and let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to talk about today is this idea that Trump is the reason that Wall Street is booming, that the stock market itself is booming. Now, there are a lot of people who feel a lot of different ways about that. But there are a lot of people, in my opinion, who actually don't know why they feel the way they do. People are just kind of like quoting whatever their favorite commentator is saying. Well, now your favorite commentator is about to give you the real. There are some people out there who feel like Trump has absolutely nothing to do with the stock market booming, and that it is merely a remnant of what Obama started. That's usually your liberal left, and to be totally honest with you. And there may be some truth to that. There's the other side of that fence. Where they believe that Trump had everything to do with it. That the economy is just absolutely amazing. And it's because, like your Milo, for example. Yeah, Trump added 1 million jobs. Ah, damn. Where was that resolution at? Did y'all see that? That bill signed by Trump? I must have missed that one that went through Congress. What was the add 1 million jobs to the economy bill? I don't think I saw that one. But maybe Milo, has the inside scoop and he would like to share it with us. But no, that's not. I mean, it's partially true, but that's not it either. Believe it or, and of course it didn't just, the economy actually isn't quote unquote doing well. That's actually not what's causing it either. Believe it or not, you all are a little bit right and you all are a little bit wrong. So as you all know, the economy is indeed cyclical. And that is partially to blame for why it's high. But believe it or not, that is not to blame exactly for why it is this high. So that argument is normally how we would explain a crash, or how we would explain a rising in the stock market, even after stagnation, you usually see a sharp rise, and then after the sharp rise, you see a climax and you see it fall. But in all honesty, Trump is correct in the sense that this is really the highest that it's ever been. It is. And that's impressive. But for the Trump supporters, it's not impressive for the reasons that you think, people. And I'm going to explain something to you. I'm explaining why. Most of the stock market is owned by the top 1%. Actually, last time I checked, it was about 40% of the stock market is owned by the top 1% of earners in this country. 80% of the stock market is owned by the top 10% of the earners in this country. So what does that mean? That means if you have the time to watch me and you care about what I'm talking about, you're clearly not in that boat, because if you were, you'd be donating to my show and I would be doing much better off than what I am doing right now. But since you all who are watching me right now clearly have not donated to my Patreon and make that much money, you would probably be with me in the other 80% of people who I have like a little bit of stocks, but nothing like insane, like nothing crazy, just some saving stuff. So that means for us, guess what the booming stock market means? Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing at all. But yet we always like to say that the economy's doing well. Look at the stock market. Well, let's be honest. We've been kind of conditioned to feel like that. Whenever the stock market is booming, the economy is doing well. If the stock market crashes, the economy is doing bad. Funny enough, I love to reference Cat Williams, I believe it was. Was it Cat Williams? It was either Cat Williams or Dave Chappelle. It was a comedian. I wish I could remember the name, which one. But essentially, or maybe it was me. Maybe I'm just trying to give them credit for something I created. But I remember when the stock market crashed in 2008, and people were jumping into the lines to get into the military. Luckily, I had literally just joined. I was in basic training when the stock market crashed, because I actually figured out pretty early that it was going to crash, just by virtue of being in high school debate. And obviously, that was a topic that came across a lot. We talked a lot about the housing industry and things of that nature, and how we were on the bubble, and it was about that time. So I was like, and it was, you can kind of see the blood on the leaves, if you will. But a lot of people in lines, and people were freaking out. Everybody was losing their jobs. But here's what was kind of funny. And minorities in general can attest to this. I can speak for black people because I was a black person when it happened. I was around black people. But I think minorities in general can kind of attest to this. We were like, hold up, the stock market just crashed? What happened? For real? What does that mean? Do we got to call the fire department? How does the stock market crash work? What I mean to say is that poor people didn't even know the stock market crashed. Our wages still sucked. Our hours were still mediocre. In Christmas time, we still worked insane hours. During holidays, we still worked crazy hours for minimum wages. Our double cheeseburgers were still $1, right? Our bill was we still had to do a post date on the light bill. You know what I'm saying? We still had to do a post date on the light bill. We still had, I can put something on it, but I ain't got it all right now. That didn't start when the stock market crashed, people. I don't know why people convinced y'all that Bill Clinton had saved the economy, because he didn't. Like, the stock market had nothing to do with black people and minorities in general. We don't invest. I don't know what the hell investment meant at the time. So the point that I am trying to illustrate to you is that just because the stock market is doing well, it does not negate the very fact that we are at the highest point of income inequality in the history of the United States of America. So that does not mean diddly squat to most of us. Yes, when the economy crashed in 2008, a lot of people lost jobs. But not the people that worked at Walmart, not the people that worked at Best Buy, not the people that worked at McDonald's, not the unfortunately, the places, the corporations that employ a lot of the country. This is unfortunately true. Because the reality of the situation is, when you lose jobs, you're not eating at Olive Garden anymore. You're going to McDonald's. You're not shopping at Whole Foods anymore. You're going to Walmart. This is the reality. This is how, and so these are the reasons why you still see them giving you low wages. McDonald's, Walmart, these type of corporations. They still treat their employees like they're dirt. They give them leave when they give them vacations if they choose to. And even when they finally decide to grant you a vacation without firing you, at that point, they will not pay you for your vacation. They will cut back your hours. If you live in a right to work state, yeah, full time is 32 hours, but it would depend, and it depends on your state. But even still, all that means whereas when you used to get those hours, it meant like, hell yeah, I get all my employee benefits. Ooh, no, right to work, homie. All that means is we got to keep you just a shit tad bit under that, so I ain't got to pay for your Obamacare coverage. That's what that means now. It don't mean what it used to mean. So the stock market doesn't really mean that much to us. It's a good way to tell when you should start ducking and covering, depending on which. If like the stock market, in my opinion, is the scariest, like the state of the stock market is the scariest in about the lower upper middle class. So not the middle class necessarily, even though it hurts them, but that lower upper middle class. But millennials, we straight. We even got jobs anyway, so it's all good. It's all right. But there's a lot of lawyers out there who gonna be hurt. All the millennials who went to law school, y'all got about, I would say, 1.75 years left. Because we're hovering right now. So essentially, the top 1%, I think, owns about 24% of our economy. And this is almost exactly where it's at every single time right before the economy crashes. Now, we don't know exactly when that will be, but because of mitigating international circumstances, there is a very good possibility that it could be stretched a little bit longer. So maybe pushing for 2.5 years or 3 years. But don't get too happy. Don't get too happy. And the only reason why, and y'all gonna laugh at me when I tell you this, the reason why it's going to be pushed out is because millennials aren't buying houses. Whoever had houses before still have their house. They're not buying another one. And those who did have houses and lost their houses are bankrupt. They still can't, because they didn't think about it. You didn't, like, if you, for example, were part of the economic crash and you lost your job and you had the balloon interest, you didn't go bankrupt immediately. You you exhausted your savings. One person lost a job, and then another person lost a job in the household, and then your kids went off to college, and you know, things started piling up, and then eventually you went bankrupt. Because usually it isn't like just losing your house isn't necessarily enough to make you go bankrupt. It's going to contribute heavily to it, and it's usually one of the main reasons. Like, that's like usually the tipping point, but that's not what's going to make you go bankrupt alone. So like, it was about 3 years into it, and it takes about 7 years for your bankruptcy to clear off of your credit. Those people still can't afford houses, and they're not about to buy another one tomorrow because they probably know better than anyone at this point. It's not a good time to buy, because we just saw about every 10 to 15 years when the market crashes. There are millions of unoccupied homes in New York City right now. People are getting paid a lot less, being asked labor-wise, productivity-wise, to do a lot more. Everybody is buying in surplus. It looks really familiar. It looks really, really familiar. The only fortunate thing, like I said, it's sad that it's fortunate. Millennials, we can't afford to. And I know a lot of people like to think that the student debt is going to actually contribute to the stock market crashing. That is one thing I don't think is going to happen. And I think it's a fallacy that's committed by people who don't understand how student debt works, and they don't understand how universities work. Student debt doesn't that doesn't pay for universities, right, people? I don't know if y'all know that. So the student loans are not what pays for universities. The grants that are awarded to research departments and athletics pay for universities. And of course, depending on how big a university is, endowments. The student loan, and don't tell nobody. What the government at? Where the CIA at? Hold on. Let me make sure they ain't paying attention. If you have a $50,000 loan and you're paying it off right now, you are probably a sucker, because it is not real. Student loan debt is fake. I don't want to, like, no pun intended, but burst your bubble. Get it? Because the stock market crash. But no, seriously, the student loan debt is fake. It's not real. It didn't pay for your classes. You're paying interest on something that never contributed to the process of your education. Ever. I'm not joking. This is a conversation that I sat down with a professor and talked to about. That's why professors are so stressed out about researching. Have you ever noticed for my bio majors or my chemistry majors, have you ever noticed that your teachers or your professors suck at teaching you? They are horrible at it. You see your TA more than you will ever see a professor. And this is especially true in economics and in the science departments, and somewhat true in the math departments as well. And depending on what your university specializes in. So that was true in almost every department at UNC. Psychology, we were always doing psych research. They were always trying to use their kids to do psych research. It was to the degree that your psychology grade depended on you getting participating in psychological research at the university. But that's because those professors, they're not worried about teaching you. Teaching you is not how they get tenure. Teaching you is not how they get their jobs. They get jobs by bringing research money into that school, by making breakthroughs, by getting Nobel Peace Prizes by curing cancer like UNC. Holla. Sorry. But yeah, we had 2 people get Nobel Peace Prizes in 1 year. So, but that's what they're concerned with, because that is the money, the revenue that keeps schools going. Why do you think they place so much value on athletics? Yeah, the prestige is cool, whatever. But Could it possibly be because Alabama 2 years ago made $80 million during their football season? $80 million. You don't care about your damn grant money. Or that, not your grant money, excuse me, but your loan. They don't expect you to pay off that loan. Nobody is going to offer you a service for something like what. So for a mortgage, we know that people have a tendency to pay off their mortgage because there is an incentive, right? If I don't pay off my mortgage, I'm going to be homeless and I'm not going to be able to buy another home. Okay, cool. With my car, I have to pay off my car. If I don't pay off my car, it'll be towed and I won't be able to buy another car. If I graduate and I get my degree and I just initiate another degree right after and I finish that, matter of fact, let me just knock all this stuff out. You know what? I don't feel like paying my loan. What are you going to do? I'm coming after your degree. Go ahead, whatever. Already got my job. It's fine. Well, I'll come after your wages. Nope. Guess what I'm doing? Defer. I pay $10 a month for the rest of my life. You'll never see that thing paid off. Seriously. All the taxes that people use to prolong. And then when you get super, like I know people who got a lot of money, like CEO money. When you get that type of rich, you get accountants. And accountants are doing all types of math, right? They doing all types of math. Like, look, don't pay them back. Here what we going to do. You're going to pay them $122.34 a month on the dot until you're dead. And maybe, just maybe, if you live to be 100, you'll pay them off in time. But you're not going to stress yourself about it. So why would universities at that point think that it's smart to rely on you paying your loan money back for them to operate? I mean, hey, how did they operate before? Because student loans were never that big and tuition never cost that much. Ding, ding, ding. Because they never relied on student loan. They never really even relied on your tuition, really. Like the tuition that you pay cash. It's always been about grant money and athletics. You contribute about this much to your college education. And most of that is inflated. If you've ever seen how much a meal card costs, all my millennials can relate, you will know exactly just how inflated college tuition is. Seriously. Think about it. If you're in state, they're like, oh, it's only $20,000. But if you're a top 10 school, if you're out of state, oh, it's $50,000 now. And all of a sudden, you don't even qualify for any loans in some cases. And they really get international students. International students are getting it the worst. You want to know why? Because they're coming over and paying cash. When all y'all millennials who are American and are going to school in your state or even in another state, getting out loans, y'all ain't planning on paying them back. You ain't got a lot, Craig. It's okay. I know it. I'm talking to y'all. I be seeing y'all posts, laughing at the student loan posts. They're like, student loan debt is getting insanely expensive. There's billions of dollars. We're hitting, like, the debt ceiling for student loans is almost $1 trillion. Do you think that that's because, like, I mean, yeah, but the most expensive schools are the most prestigious schools. The most prestigious schools get you the biggest jobs, which get you the biggest paychecks, which get you the highest bonuses. So if all of those rich kids who get the nice jobs are paying off their debt, then how is it reaching $1 trillion? Because, I mean, yeah, Harvard education, not a game. It's like $50,000 a year. Yale, even UNC's law school is like almost $40,000 a year. NYU is $50,000 a year. If they're paying off their debt, if those doctors, those surgeons are paying off their debt, then why are we at because they're not paying it off. They got accountants, man. The same reason Donald Trump don't pay all his taxes, the same reason these people are smart enough not to pay off their debt. But it's fake. Just like the explosiveness, which is what we're coming back to, of the stock market. It is fake. it is not real. It didn't actually happen yet. This quote unquote economic boom, this boom in the stock market is not real. It's speculative. That's how the stock market works. And the only reason that it is doing so well, some of you may not even like to hear it. The million jobs, the whole record-breaking stock market, it's because they know Trump is a corporate puppet. That's why. That's the only reason why it's booming. There is nothing that suggests that people will buy more now, unless they're on Amazon because we're broke and we have to use Amazon Prime. Like, there's nothing that suggests that people will shop more now than they did in the last 2 years. The only thing that I could think of, like, I'm talking about from a legitimate, logical, economic perspective, I don't have time to cook anymore because I'm always working, because all of our hours are inflated. If you have a salary, your hours are inflated. If you are hourly, you can't afford to go shopping at Whole Foods anymore. So you're going to shop at a fast food restaurant. If you have a nice salary, but your hours are inflated, you don't want to cook anymore. You don't have the time nor the energy to, and you're likely commuting because everybody has to commute to get to a decent job nowadays, it seems like. And so I'm going to eat at the nice restaurants, but either way, you're eating out. So I could see that being the case. Like, if we want to, but that's not what they're basing it on, because that was the case with Obama. Trump did not change that at all. We haven't invested in infrastructure like we were supposed to. Marijuana was legal when Obama was in office. So, like, and they're actually hurting that industry, and the stock market is still booming. And that's a multi-billion dollar industry. They don't give a shit. They're still investing. Doesn't make any sense, right? So what are they basing this idea that the stock market is going to do well, that people are going to spend money on companies, that these companies are individually going to be successful? Not basing it on anything. They're basing it on the fact that, wow, when Trump passed this bill and when or signed it, he didn't write it. I'm not going to make him take all the blame for that. The Republicans were going to do that anyway. So let's be very clear about that. The Republicans were going to do that. And second of all, don't let Hillary Clinton make you think that she was going to do something different, because her tax plan looked almost, except for a few things, identical to that. And she was going to have to give concessions to the Republicans because she was not going to win the Democratic House. Bernie Sanders would have, but she was not going to win a Democratic House. And because of that, we were probably going to see a very similar rendition of that tax bill. So that's not all Trump's fault, but he contributed to it. But my point is, he signed it and then he endorsed it and then he bragged about it. And man, like I said, some of the stuff in that tax bill, I mean, if I wanted to, I can call myself my own consultant for my own business and be taxed, if once I start making a certain amount, at 20%. If you work at McDonald's, you would be taxed more than a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, if they decide to call themselves a consultant with some of the loopholes they have. And once they realize that Trump is literally going to do every and anything he can do to see his business and all of its corporatism successful, because that's what he's concerned with. You should not be naive about that. That is why people believe that we should not have a billionaire in office, because even unconsciously, he is thinking about every decision he makes. Oh shit, will that hurt my business? I'm not going to be president forever. Oh damn, will that hurt my business? I'm not going to be president forever. And that is why the stock market is booming. The stock market usually booms, like, if you're talking about, like, let's put it in respect to time. Right before the holidays, if people start eating out a lot more, it usually means that the economy is doing well. That's how they judge, weirdly enough. It does make sense, though. Think about it. Do you eat out when you don't have money? Okay, so it does make sense. However, it hit its record high after the holidays. That means for some odd reason, corporatists truly believe in their heart and soul that the economy is going to keep rising and people are going to continue to keep spending money, or like what happened last time during the 2008 crash. I need to invest, and try to pinpoint. I got to get in while the getting is good, because I'm not going to have the money to invest when the getting is bad, because it's going to get bad. And I don't know how the economy is going to resolve itself once this crash happens. I seriously don't know. Now, the economy and all that good stuff, like, the autonomy, like as in when we convert to machines, I actually think that we're going to go to a universal basic income by that point, so it won't be that big of a deal. I think it's necessary. I think that physical labor is being underappreciated and undervalued monetarily in this country. And that is obviously the labor that is most taxing on the body, most stressful on the body. And when you are doing physical labor for longer hours, less pay, with more stress at work, a lot of people having more stress at home, and you're not spending time with your children, and nobody really is at this point, because in today's economy, physical labor, both parents have to work. So I think the universal basic income is going to be a great idea. I can't wait until it's implemented by someone who has some damn sense. But it really should already be a thing. If not for everybody, once you get to a certain age, like not even including Social Security, like it should be a thing. It should already, not like later on. Like if you want people to be able to buy houses, like I feel like with universal basic income, you will start to see a crazy shift in social status quo. I think that is partially why some people don't want it. They don't want the playing field to be leveled out. I'm so serious about it. I think they do not want it. And I think after a certain amount of income that you have, you don't get universal basic income anymore, in my humble opinion. And the reason why is because you still want to, you don't want to put a unnecessary burden on tax people. But the moral of the story is, don't get too happy. If you're a Trump supporter, Trump, don't be reading into that. Like, I don't give the credit to Trump in a positive way for the boost in this economy, no more than I gave the credit to Obama for this boost in the economy. If they think you're a corporatist, they think you're going to do what you're told, the economy is going to rise. It's speculation. So, moving on. Our next topic for the evening is Julian Assange. Man, he's had I know he's been having a good week, right? We've had the Clinton Foundation investigation opened, being headed by the FBI in Little Rock, Arkansas. I know people from Arkansas get really uncomfortable when you say Arkansas. So when you actually meet somebody from Arkansas, make sure that you say Arkansas. Okay? So he got the Clinton Foundation investigation. He has the Clinton email investigation by the Senate Judiciary Committee that's been reopened. The FEC is officially investigating Clinton campaign finance after an official complaint was made due to the Hillary Victory Fund information that was recently re-released with evidence via the letters that were written to the super PACs, the quote unquote agreements. And now, Julian Assange, or should we say Julian? Julian es un ecuatoriano. No? He's Ecuadorian now. He is an official citizen of Ecuador. And not only is he an official citizen of Ecuador, but it gets better. He is actually a diplomat now. And because he is a diplomat, the moment that he's, of course, this isn't like, it isn't stone that he is an Ecuadorian citizen, and it isn't stone in Ecuador's mind that he's a diplomat, but they have to make sure now that the embassy in the UK will respect that. But what that is supposed to mean is that he has diplomatic immunity, which means he cannot be arrested if he steps off that off that embassy anymore. So, shout out to Ecuador, right? It's about time that some countries started making some bold moves for the right people. Because that is the only way battles are going to be able to continue to be fought and won, is if we take care of those who take care of us. And Julian Assange is indeed a hero. He is. The dude has been punished after he has been exonerated by the United Nations, which is kind of the total opposite of the United States, right? And Israel and anybody anybody under the United States umbrella, I should say. Like, we can be found guilty of war crimes, which Bush and Cheney were. We can be found guilty of imperialism. We can be found. We gave chemical weapons. We set off chemical weapons in Syria, people. It's not like, oh, well, we're speculating that no, like, oh man, I cannot remember his name now. The Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, Seymour Hersh. That's his name. Seymour Hersh, the Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, found out that we were the ones who transported the weapons from Libya under the Obama administration into Syria, right? We detonated them, blamed Syria and Assad, turned out to not be true, right? Seymour Hersh got a Pulitzer Prize for it because clearly it was true, which means, in effect, that we were the ones who used the chemical weapons in Syria and literally nothing happened to us at all. Other than a finger wagging because we threaten anyone who tries to come at us negative, like in any type of way when it comes to our imperialism. Very few people in the United Nations will call us out for what we do. But like the votes will tell you definitely that people disagree with what we do. But, hey, Israel, gets to do what the hell they want to do. They get away with more than we do. They literally wage war against poor people every single day, claim to be the victims, and then nothing happens. Every single day. Nothing happens, right? So it's good to see that good people are finally being rewarded. And I don't know, because if y'all don't know, this is a fact. Like, Julian Assange was exonerated. He didn't hack anything. He has never ever posted anything that was not given to him by a source who had legal access. Now, so he has posted hacks before, but the hacks weren't of federal officials. If it's a hack, it was on somebody's personal computer. But as far as things like what we've been seeing, he's only done leaks. That's why it's called WikiLeaks, not Wiki. I went into your computer and stole all your shit, or hacks for short. That's why it's called WikiLeaks for a reason, and he was exonerated. In fact, I don't know if a lot of y'all remember this, but remember the diplomat, is a foreign ambassador actually that worked for WikiLeaks, and he even came out and said exactly how the leaks were going down. He's like, yeah, I would fly to Washington, I would meet the leaker in the park. It would be right outside of the FBI, weirdly enough, and they would give me everything I needed. I would fly back. We would post it. It's pretty standard. It always happens like that. And if you happen to be one of those people who just swear to God Julian Assange is some Russia bot, which is a little weird, by the way. He doesn't sound Russian at all. But for those of you who for some reason think that Julian Assange is some type of Russian bot because that's what CNN has been telling you, we don't know, but we think. I mean, yeah, we've literally retracted every legitimate story claiming that there was some type of source saying this was true, but hey, believe us. If you think that he's a Russian bot, then ask exactly why the Democrats loved him so much in 2009, 2010, 2011. Maybe because he was exposing the Republicans at that point and not them. Because the enemy of my enemy is my friend until you're my enemy and not their enemy anymore. When I'm trying to do some corrupt shit, could that have something to do with it? The convenient outrage. Julian Assange is clearly working for Russia now. Do you even understand how ridiculous? Like, that conclusion literally came out of thin air. It was like the Big Bang. For real, because where do you even get that conclusion from? Because at first, the initial leaker that we found out it was like a fake leak, Guccifer 2.0 was the Russian hacker. And you go from Guccifer 2.0, who has no connection to WikiLeaks whatsoever, is a Russian hacker. And it's like they just used the transitive property and was like, okay, so clearly that just means that also Julian Assange is a Russian hacker. Whatever, fuck it. Y'all believe whatever anyway. Like, that's what they did. They literally said they were talking under their breath whenever they sold y'all that bullshit. Hey, I mean, y'all really believe in what the fuck ever. So, yeah, Julian Assange is a Russian spy. What? Really? Seriously? He really is? Yeah. And also, Putin actually was the one who personally hacked the voter, or the voting machines. Yeah, that's what happened. And also, they hired Russian bots on Twitter the entire election and made all that stuff up about Hillary Clinton. What about the stuff in Haiti? Oh, no, that's true. What about her laundering money? No, that's true. What about her cheating Bernie Sanders? Well, no, that was true too. Well, you mean the emails were fake though, right? Well, no, they were real. But y'all just gobbled it all up. Because of some way that you could direct your outrage. But come on. Clearly, he's not a Russian bot because they loved him. Like, Julian Assange is the reason that George W. Bush and Cheney and there's one other guy too. He was unfortunately on Bernie Sanders' campaign. I can't remember his name right now. But they can't leave the country because they're war criminals and they will be prosecuted on sight. It kind of sucks for them, but good. Julian Assange is a hero and he has been a hero. And it's crazy. Like, I legitimately wonder how it felt when like the Democrats were praising him in the news. And then when he exposed like just Hillary Clinton, just personally, because I don't even think that he kind of knew that they were going to react. Like, all of the Democrats were going to react like that. I think that he knew that Hillary and maybe her little camp would react like that. But even I couldn't have predicted what took place afterwards, which is like they all kind of like agree, like we have to start silencing him in general. But all that lets me know is that all of them, if they didn't come out openly in like that they were corrupt, they were going to try and do corrupt practices, and they didn't want to be exposed. So to hell with them, right? So yeah, good on Ecuador. And I'm happy for Julian Assange. Hopefully he can get in some better living conditions. So the next thing that I want to talk about is this whole resist mantra. I am so sick and tired of seeing it, y'all. I am. I actually get physically mad whenever I see someone use the term resist. I especially hate when I see a former, well, I don't say former, even worse, if they're not former, they're still considered themselves a quote unquote burner, like someone who supports Bernie Sanders. I cringe when I see it on a burner's page. How can you go from screaming for a revolution to resist? Oh no. Oh God, don't do it. No. Oh, stop it. Stop it, please. I'm resisting. You go from screaming for a revolution, you go from screaming for legitimate change to resist. As in, so let me tell y'all what resist means. Inherent in the word resist is there's either two possibilities. You stagnate or you are pushed back. Those are the only two options. It's you stagnate and you push back. If you're pushing forward, then you would be on the attack. You're not resisting anymore necessarily. But you stagnate and you move back. And either way, no matter what, it's incremental. Unless you just get like, no, because that's pretty much resistance. It's incremental. Because if they do push through change like what we've been seeing, it's going to be a little bit at a time because you're resisting it. And every now and then you stop, then you get pushed back a little bit more. Then you stop a little bit, but then you get pushed back a little bit more. And that sounds really good, right? It's resist. But why? But why are they screaming resist? Bernie's, mantra of political revolution seems to be a little bit more inspiring, right? I mean, look at what he did. Look at the numbers he got. Look at the bumper stickers still on their cars. Look at how inspired people still are. I mean, and Hillary Clinton had no problem taking the things that Bernie said before, because that whole quote unquote stronger together thing, yeah, that was Bernie's. Y'all know that. That was Bernie. So they didn't have a problem taking literally his arguments, his words, some of his platforms, and at least saying them. Not that they would practice them, but they didn't mind saying it. So why not take the whole political revolution mantra? Because they don't want y'all revolutionizing. They want y'all revolting. They don't want a revolution. They don't want that. They want you to embrace and be happy with the status quo. Resist means, yeah, it's bad, but it could be worse. Revolution is, yeah, it's bad, fix it or else. But they understand that in a revolution, the Democrats do, the Democratic strategists do, they understand that in a revolution, the Republicans aren't the only ones that go down. That means the Democrats are going down too, because they have perpetuated a lot of the nonsense that the Republicans are guilty of as well. Democrats have perpetuated crime bills just as much, and quote unquote, when I say crime, if you're new to politics, I don't want to confuse you. When I say they perpetuate crime legislation, when I use it in that term, it means that they have used their power to disproportionately affect minority communities and poor communities for personal profit or gain because of the private prison system that they profit off of. Kamala Harris, guilty of this. Joe Biden, guilty of this. Bill Clinton, guilty of this. Hillary Clinton, guilty of this. Rahm Emanuel in Chicago, absolutely guilty of this. Bill de Blasio. All of these Democrats are just as guilty when it comes to a lot of the things that they try to critique Republicans about. Remember the Republican healthcare bill? Yeah, healthcare was and is bad. Did it get that much worse? Actually, for some people it didn't. It actually got better for some people. I'm not gonna lie. Some people now have they don't pay any premium. They have a high deductible but no premium, which is better for them. And now some people don't. If you can't afford it at all, at least you don't get penalized for it. So that's actually it kind of got better a little bit, and it got better financially for people, but not actually for their health. But Obamacare was killing people's savings accounts. So. But they didn't. What did the Democrats tell y'all? Did they say, yeah, single payer? That's what we need to be doing. No, they said resist. Keep Obamacare the same. That's not very motivational, is it? When most of the country got screwed by Obamacare. Whenever the Women's March, the Women's March, that wasn't really about women's marching or women's rights or women's issues. When the Women's March, which was pretty much a crying fest about how much they wanted their little Hillary Clinton in office, came through, I was in New York. And I was looking around and said, wow, where's Tulsi Gabbard at? I'm looking at my Facebook. No Tulsi Gabbard. Where's Nina Turner at? I know they're going to have Nina Turner, right? Where's Jill Stein? Where's Rosario Dawson? Where's Susan Sarandon? These women who had been known to be not only obviously very powerful and influential women, but very progressive women and women that absolutely embody all the quality that the Women's March initially said that they were about. And were popular. These women were extremely popular on top of that. Oh no, but these women want a revolution. Can't have them. We need some status quo-ers. What the status quo-ers at? Let me know if you doing well, but everybody else ain't. Let me know if you doing well, but everybody else ain't. That's pretty much what resist means. I'm doing well enough that I am perfectly fine with the status quo, but I can't deal with the change that's going to come because it could find that change could make things a little uncomfortable for me. So I don't want that resistance. I don't want that change to the status quo. But I don't mind if we don't get their change, the revolutionary change, because I'm doing perfectly fine. That's what it is. Also, in some sects, known as white feminism. That's pretty much the definition of that's like I feel like that's a good ideology to use to describe the resist mantra. It's white feminism. You claim to want equity, but what you actually want is superiority. You don't, and just like in white feminism, they completely and utterly ignore minority women unless they can use them to their personal and political advantage. They victimize themselves while claiming to not want to be victimized. Like everybody wanted us to feel sorry for Hillary Clinton when she was showing signs of illness, but at the same token, like if Trump is legitimately mentally ill, we probably shouldn't be like lambasting him. Like if we did that to Hillary Clinton, could you imagine? Like we joke about him being mentally ill and it was perfectly fine. But like if he legitimately is mentally ill, then we should be doing something about it. Like this should be a legitimate concern. We shouldn't be like dicks about it because mental illness is a serious thing. Let's get some consistency across this board now. I want a revolution. I don't want any more resistance stuff. So take that off your profile if you got it. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. And always remember, people, find your balance. Peace.